Section: Introduction. In this section, we discuss knowledge tracing, KT, which is essential for assessing students' understanding by tracking their knowledge over time through their interactions. This process helps educators and platforms tailor learning experiences to enhance knowledge retention. With the rise of online education, platforms like MOOCs have produced extensive interaction data, which is valuable for training machine learning models. However, the learning journey is often lengthy and unpredictable, with each interaction carrying a degree of uncertainty. This highlights the importance of developing KT models that can manage the complexities of these interactions. Previous research typically uses fixed representations to model how students interact with courses. For example, DKT transforms student interactions into fixed-length vectors, while AKT incorporates various factors like concept difficulty and response types to understand the relationship between a student's knowledge and the questions posed. Other methods have also been introduced to account for forgetting, recent experiences, and additional information, such as the relationship between questions and knowledge components. However, these approaches often assume that a student's behavior is only influenced by their current knowledge level, neglecting the random factors that can affect learning. In educational settings, many variables can influence student performance, leading to uncertainties in knowledge assessments. These uncertainties stem from differences in learning abilities, adaptability, and personal situations. Among these, epistemic uncertainty helps models better gauge a student's actual knowledge, reflecting cognitive differences. On the other hand, aleatory uncertainty, which includes random mistakes or lucky guesses, can mislead assessments. This is common since students often show varying knowledge levels during the same set of interactions, sometimes behaving in ways that do not align with their true abilities. To improve personalized assessments, we need to capture these uncertainties. However, not all uncertainties are beneficial. While epistemic uncertainty can enhance assessments, aleatory uncertainty might skew model evaluations. For instance, a student might guess correctly on a multiple-choice question or make careless errors on problems they could solve correctly. Such aleatory uncertainty does not accurately represent a student's knowledge and could lead to incorrect model conclusions. To accurately reflect students' knowledge mastery, we must strengthen our models against aleatory uncertainty while preserving epistemic uncertainty. We propose two key questions. How can we model students' knowledge mastery while considering uncertainties? And how can we enhance model robustness against aleatory uncertainty while keeping epistemic uncertainty intact? To address these issues, we introduce the Uncertainty-Aware Knowledge Tracing (UKT) model, which effectively captures uncertainties in student behavior. UKT uses a stochastic approach to represent each student's interaction history as a Gaussian distribution, where the mean indicates their fundamental knowledge level and the covariance reflects their uncertainties. Additionally, UKT employs a self-attention mechanism based on Wasserstein distance to capture transitions in learning states, focusing on overall changes rather than just individual comparisons. To prevent the model from being misled by aleatory uncertainty and to improve its robustness in predicting knowledge mastery, we developed a contrastive learning mechanism that accounts for aleatory uncertainty. By creating negative samples that represent careless and lucky guesses, we enhance the model's ability to resist biased distributions. Consequently, the model becomes more resilient to unusual behaviors and better at accurately assessing students' knowledge. To our knowledge, UKT is the first model to explore uncertainty in knowledge tracing. Our main contributions include modeling students' knowledge levels and uncertainties through stochastic learning, where each student is represented as a Gaussian distribution. We also provide a solution to maintain epistemic uncertainty while improving robustness against aleatory uncertainty through contrastive learning. Our extensive experiments on 6 datasets show that our method outperforms existing models, effectively modeling epistemic uncertainty while demonstrating strong resilience to aleatory uncertainty. In the following section, we delve into related work, highlighting how knowledge tracing aims to dynamically evaluate a learner's mastery and customize their learning paths based on their historical performance. A well-designed KT model should enhance prediction accuracy by analyzing whether students answer questions correctly, reflecting their understanding of the relevant knowledge concepts. Section Summary. In this section, we introduce the Uncertainty-Aware Knowledge Tracing (UKT) model, which captures both epistemic and aleatory uncertainties in student interactions by representing each student's knowledge as a Gaussian distribution. Our approach enhances model robustness against misleading aleatory uncertainty while effectively assessing students' true knowledge mastery, outperforming existing methods in extensive experiments. Section: Deep Sequential Models. In this section, we explore deep sequential models for knowledge tracing, which utilize autoregressive architectures to analyze students' sequential interactions. For instance, the Deep Knowledge Tracing (DKT) model employs an LSTM layer to assess knowledge mastery. We enhance DKT by adding a skill encoder that merges student learning activities with knowledge component representations. Next, we discuss memory-augmented models that use memory networks to identify hidden relationships between knowledge components and students' knowledge states. These models utilize a static key memory matrix to store relationships and a dynamic value memory matrix to predict students' mastery levels. We also examine adversarial learning-based models that apply adversarial techniques to create variations that boost the model's ability to generalize. For example, an attentive LSTM-KT model is trained using both original and adversarial examples. Graph-based models leverage graph neural networks to represent the relationships among questions, knowledge components, and interactions. They introduce a bipartite graph to capture the connections at the question and knowledge component levels, while a graph convolutional network illustrates the correlations between them. Attention-based models utilize attention mechanisms to understand dependencies in interactions. For instance, SAKT employs a self-attention network to relate knowledge components to students' past interactions. SAINT uses an encoder-decoder structure for exercise and response sequences, and AKT includes self-attention modules to model students' forgetting behaviors. Simple KT applies standard dot product attention to extract time-sensitive information from student interactions. However, existing research often neglects the uncertainty in knowledge tracing, which is a significant challenge we need to address. We define uncertainty as an unpredictable element in model predictions, crucial for decision-making and machine learning. Understanding uncertainty helps build user trust and improve model reliability. We categorize uncertainty into two types, epistemic and aleatory. Epistemic uncertainty arises from a lack of knowledge about the system and can be reduced by gathering more information. In knowledge tracing, it stems from the diverse learning abilities and understanding levels of students, making it difficult to capture their unique learning paths. Aleatory uncertainty is inherent in the data and cannot be minimized by collecting more data. It includes randomness in the data generation process, such as careless mistakes or guessing by students. By recognizing and measuring these uncertainties, we can create models that are both accurate and trustworthy. We have designed our KT model to effectively address both types of uncertainty. In our problem statement, we assume each student has a series of interactions over time. Each interaction is represented as a structured quadruple, including the question, associated knowledge components, the student's response, and the time of the response. Our goal is to build a model that predicts the probability of a student answering a specific question correctly. In our methodology, we describe how the UKT model processes student interaction data and manages uncertainty. The UKT model uses a stochastic embedding layer to represent interactions as a Gaussian distribution, where the mean reflects the student's baseline knowledge and the covariance captures uncertainty. A Wasserstein-based self-attention layer analyzes this distribution to monitor changes in knowledge states. We then process the student's knowledge state and uncertainty through a feed-forward network to evaluate their mastery and uncertainty regarding specific questions. To address aleatory uncertainty, we incorporate a contrastive learning layer that enhances prediction robustness. Finally, we combine the adjusted uncertainty with the student's knowledge level to predict their performance on specific problems. The key differences between UKT and deterministic KT models are illustrated in our figures. Section Summary. In this section, we explore various deep sequential models for knowledge tracing, including those that utilize auto-regressive architectures, memory networks, adversarial techniques, graph neural networks, and attention mechanisms, while highlighting the critical challenge of addressing uncertainty in student knowledge assessment. We introduce our UKT model, which effectively handles both epistemic and aleatory uncertainties through a stochastic embedding layer and a contrastive learning approach, ultimately aiming to predict student performance more accurately. Section: Stochastic Embedding Layers. In this section, we focus on stochastic embedding layers, which are essential for understanding student interactions and tracking their learning progress. We note that in education, the number of practice questions often far exceeds the number of knowledge components, as seen in the Algebra 2005 dataset where questions outnumber knowledge components by over 1,500 times. To manage this uncertainty, we build upon existing methods and develop our own approach, UKT. We begin by mapping students' responses to questions onto knowledge components, evaluating each component to assess understanding. We represent base interactions using a mean embedding and uncertainties with a covariance embedding, creating a multidimensional elliptical Gaussian distribution to model student behavior. We apply the same representation process to knowledge components, resulting in mean and covariance embeddings for them as well. Next, we introduce Wasserstein-based self-attention to overcome the limitations of dot product methods, which do not effectively measure discrepancies between distributions. We use the Wasserstein distance to track students' learning states across stochastic embeddings, employing separate position embeddings for the mean and covariance. We derive mean and covariance sequence embeddings for student interactions and knowledge component sequences, ensuring the positive definite property of covariance through the exponential linear unit, ELU. We then refine the knowledge state using a two-layer fully connected network, with trainable parameters for the layers and biases. Our UKT framework is efficient, adding only a covariance matrix embedding compared to standard attention-based methods, while maintaining a similar computational cost. Our experiments show that training and inference can be completed efficiently on a single GPU within an hour. To address aleatory uncertainty, we propose aleatory uncertainty-aware contrastive learning. This involves constructing negative samples that reflect both careless behavior and lucky guesses. We create a negative interaction sequence for a student based on the outcome of their last answered question. If the last response is correct, we invert previous correct responses, while if it is incorrect, we invert previous incorrect responses. This approach helps prevent the model from being misled by lucky guesses or overemphasizing careless mistakes. We utilize categorical cross-entropy loss to maximize mutual information between the original and perturbed views of the interaction sequences. The encoded stochastic output knowledge state is represented with mean and covariance, and we compute the two Wasserstein distance between the encoded distributions by summing the squared distances between the mean embeddings and the square root of the covariance matrices. Section Summary. In this section, we develop a framework for understanding student interactions by mapping their responses to knowledge components, KCs, and representing them using mean and covariance embeddings to capture uncertainties in learning. We also introduce a Wasserstein-based self-attention mechanism to track learning progression and employ aleatory uncertainty-aware contrastive learning to enhance model resilience by constructing negative samples that reflect both careless behavior and lucky guesses. Section: Prediction Layer and Model Optimization. In this section, we define the overall optimization function, which includes trainable parameters for weights and biases, a sigmoid function, and a weight for contrastive learning loss. We conduct extensive experiments to address several research questions. 1. How does our UKT model compare to baseline models? 2. How does UKT perform with varying weights for aleatory uncertainty-aware contrastive learning? 3. Can UKT effectively capture epistemic uncertainties and mitigate the impact of aleatory uncertainties in knowledge tracing? 4. Are the key components of UKT effective? For our experiments, we utilize 6 benchmark datasets to assess model performance. Assessments 2009. This dataset, from a free online tutoring platform, includes over 3.3 million interactions and focuses on math exercises from the 2009-2010 school year. Algebra 2005. Originating from the KDD Cup 2010 EDM Challenge, it features detailed student responses to math problems, with nearly 900,000 interactions. Bridge 2006. Also from the KDD Cup 2010 EDM Challenge, this dataset has over 1.8 million interactions and follows a similar question construction as Algebra 2005. NIPS 34. Provided by the NRIPS 2020 Education Challenge, it contains student answers to math questions, with about 1.4 million interactions. Assessments 2015. Collected in 2015, this dataset has the largest number of students among the assessments datasets, with over 680,000 interactions. POJ. From the Peking University Coding Platform, it includes nearly 1 million interactions and over 2,700 questions. We pre-process the data by removing sequences with fewer than 3 attempts and limiting interaction history to 200 for efficiency. To evaluate UKT, we compare it against several baseline models. DKT uses RNNs to model student learning. SAKT employs self-attention to relate interactions to knowledge components. SAINT, a transformer-based model that encodes exercises and responses. ATKT uses adversarial perturbations to enhance generalization in an attention LSTM model. AKT models forgetting behaviors in relevance computation. Simple KT utilizes a straightforward attention mechanism to capture contextual learning information. For implementation, we reserve 20% of student sequences for evaluation and use 5-fold cross-validation for the remaining data. We train our model using the Atom optimizer, with a maximum of 200 epochs and early stopping. We set various dimensions for embedding, hidden states, and prediction layers, and select learning rates, dropout rates, and contrastive learning rates from specified ranges. The number of blocks and attention heads are also defined within certain limits. Our model is implemented in PyTorch and trained on a single A100 GPU, with performance evaluated using AUC and accuracy metrics. Section Summary. In this section, we define our overall optimization function for the UKT model and conduct extensive experiments across 6 benchmark datasets to address key research questions regarding its performance, uncertainty handling, and component effectiveness. We compare UKT against various baselines using metrics like AUC and accuracy, while employing a structured training and evaluation process. Section. Overall Performances, RQ1. In this section, we present our findings on the overall performance of our model, UKT, in terms of average AUC and accuracy scores, as shown in the tables. We observe that UKT consistently surpasses other baseline models in AUC scores across all datasets, confirming its effectiveness as an uncertainty-aware knowledge tracing model. The only slight underperformance occurs on the ASSIST 2015 dataset, which is the largest and includes diverse student data. This allows the AKT model's 2-layer attention structure to overlook individual differences in uncertainties, benefiting from the extensive dataset for predictions. Overall, UKT shows significant advantages in AUC and accuracy across all datasets, validating that by concentrating on uncertainties in students' learning states, we can better capture and predict their learning behaviors. Next, we analyze the impact of emphasizing aleatory uncertainty on model performance by adjusting the weight of contrastive learning. Our observations from the ASSIST 2009 and Algebra 2005 datasets reveal that while reducing the impact of aleatory uncertainty can enhance performance, overemphasizing it can actually harm the model's effectiveness. This is because aleatory uncertainty is more random and sparse than epistemic uncertainty, and excessive focus on it during training can distract the model from its main goal of predicting student knowledge levels. In our uncertainty analysis, we demonstrate that UKT effectively captures epistemic uncertainty while managing aleatory uncertainty through visualization. We hypothesize that a student's epistemic uncertainty remains relatively consistent across problem-solving scenarios. By extracting and averaging covariance embeddings from a series of data, we expect that sequences from the same student will show similar average covariance values, represented as similar color blocks in a heat map. Our findings from the Algebra 2005 dataset indicate a smooth color gradient, suggesting minimal changes in covariance and stable cognitive activity. In contrast, the ASSIST 2009 dataset shows more varied color blocks, reflecting the diverse cognitive strategies among different students, supporting our theoretical hypothesis. Additionally, we find that UKT is less impacted by uncertain data compared to the other models, simple KT and AKT, highlighting its superior ability to navigate uncertain environments. Finally, our ablation study reveals that removing any component from UKT results in decreased performance, underscoring the importance of each element in uncertainty modeling. Notably, even without contrastive learning, UKT still outperforms other models, showcasing the benefits of our approach to uncertainty in knowledge tracing.